Matthew Bell with InsurancePrescription.com. Today I wanted to talk about 5 different common claims that people have to file on their homeowners insurance policies and what you can do to try to prevent these. So the first possibility is burglary and theft. This is a very common type of claim to file on a homeowner's policy, and there are a number of things you can do to try and minimize your risk. So let's start with an obvious one. Don't leave valuables in plain sight. This is going to be important when it comes to vehicles as well, but one of the ideas here is if you have window treatments, use them. Be mindful of the light balance so people can't just see into your home, so that they can see the kinds of things that you have. Use the locks that you have. Now this is a very basic tip, but obviously home doors have locks. Use the locks for the purpose for which they were intended. It is possible to upgrade locks. So for example, if you just have a doorknob lock, you could add on a deadbolt. If you have a deadbolt, you could add on some kind of interior lock for when you're there. Also, it is possible to upgrade to more high security locks. I may get into that in another video. There are different companies that deal in high security locks. A simple Google search can reveal these kinds of companies. For myself, I used a Medico cylinder. It was actually in a Schlage lock. The Medico cylinder offers a little bit of protection against picking and things like this. It depends on your situation. Most of the time, a home intrusion situation is not going to be somebody outside picking a lock. They're going to use a bump key, they're going to kick the door, they're going to jimmy the door, they're going to try and gain entry very quickly. A lot of cases, they're going to exploit some sort of deficiency in the security. So for example, a door or window that's left open is liable to be exploited. Unless there's some particular reason why a thief is targeting you, most crimes in this regard are going to be crimes of opportunity. It's going to be somebody who walks through the neighborhood, they see that you've got a door or window left ajar, and they're going to gain entry into the home, snatch what they can, and run out the door. One really important thing to improve your chances of avoiding a home burglary is going to be to use the lighting that you have. Keep the porch light on, keep the exterior illuminated. You can save electricity by having a motion sensor. The motion sensor has the added benefit of drawing attention if there is motion detected outside. It is possible to upgrade lighting. In this day, we have all kinds of LED bulbs and things that can produce a greater amount of luminosity, more than some incandescent bulbs. In the past, exterior lighting may have been through sodium bulbs or mercury vapor lighting, which can illuminate a great area, sort of the lighting that you might expect in a parking lot or outside of a building. Be mindful of your neighbors so that you're not shining a bright light in through a bedroom window, but at the same time, if these are motion sensor operated, I don't think that the neighbor is going to begrudge you the ability to protect your property. It's probably going to benefit them as well if you catch a prowler, or even if you prevent a prowler from wanting to come around because he or she observes that there is a high degree of light and scrutiny in that particular area. Landscaping can certainly play a role. If you have bushes or trees that obscure the person's ability to be seen, let's say from a street, then that prowler can gain entry into the home by simply hiding behind a bush and having time to jimmy a window open or to gain access to a door. In my own home, I have the highest security lock on the door going from the garage into the main level, on the idea that gaining entry into the garage is not very difficult, comparatively speaking, and once a person's in a garage, then they can simply shut the garage door and have minutes or hours, if need be, to work on the door in order to gain entry into the house. So when you think about it, the thief's basic mindset in most cases is going to be to quickly gain entry into the home. So again, if there is some sort of an exploit, if there's some sort of a deficiency in the home security, they may exploit it. But again, if they have some kind of cover, they may be able to operate on a door or window and try and gain entry in the house. So that could be a bush, a tree, it could be a garage, some sort of a structure that is impeding people's view of that particular door that enables the thief to simply stand there for a longer time than usual, picking the lock or jimmying the door or whatever. Finally, you might consider a security system. These can be monitored, they can be unmonitored. Monitored security systems obviously are going to come with a subscription charge. You're going to pay a monthly service fee for the monitoring company to basically keep tabs on what the state of the sensors are. It's very common to have false trips of these kinds of systems, so you have to be prepared to deal with that. If you have too many false alarms, the local police department in responding may fine you, but for many people it can give you peace of mind. Now, it is also possible to simply obtain security signage, and that is to say you might give the impression that you have a security system without actually having one, and for a person, a criminal who is looking for an easy target, a well-lit exterior that's locked up with a security sign is essentially going to put them off for an easier target. They may avoid your home, even if you don't have an actual security system, because they're not going to want to stick around to try and figure out if it's real or not. Some of these interventions may also qualify you for a discount. Check with your homeowners or property and casualty insurance provider. Another significant risk is going to be that of fire. Again, obvious thing, make sure you have working smoke detectors. Make sure that the smoke detectors are positioned high, smoke rises. You have to check periodically for battery strength if they are plugged into electricity. You might want to consider making sure that there's a battery backup. In the same vicinity here, even though it's not necessarily going to be a homeowner claim, having working carbon monoxide detectors is also going to benefit you. Finally, you want to make sure that you have working fire extinguishers. These should be present at least in the kitchen, possibly in the garage, maybe near an entry point or in a bedroom. Depends on how paranoid you are. For me, I like to keep these things around so that they're accessible. You want to watch. The fire extinguishers are going to indicate the level of charge that they have. There are also different extinguishers depending on the types of fire that they are designed to extinguish. So for example, in a kitchen, you would want a particular kind that is going to be, let's say, useful against grease fires, versus if it's in a bedroom, perhaps you just want a fire extinguisher that's capable of extinguishing a paper and wood fire. Watch things like unattended ovens and stoves. This can even be things like unattended toasters. Microwaves also pose a specific threat. Another common one is going to be electrical fires. So you want to watch that the electrical cords are not frayed or damaged. You do not want to use extension cords except as they are indicated. Many people get tripped up in this regard, that many extension cords are just used no matter what the load is. But in fact, extension cords have ratings on them, and they are sized for particular circuit or amperage loads. So when in doubt, just don't use an extension cord, but when in doubt, consult a competent and qualified electrician. Similarly, do not overload circuits. It is not uncommon to see older homes that have circuit panels and circuit breakers that are not sufficient to handle loads that have been added in subsequent years. So again, when in doubt, consult, bring in a competent electrician to survey the home environment and to determine if your electrical system is up to snuff. Space heaters is a huge one when it comes to fire risk. We're going into the fall and winter season. I'm recording this in November of 2019, and space heaters are one very, very big source of home fires due to the fact that they're sometimes left unattended. A person will put them on and then fall asleep. They may not be properly maintained. They may be dented or damaged, may have flaking paint. So check your space heater before you operate it. And once again, when in doubt, don't use the thing. Along a similar line, you want to make sure that you have GFCI, that is ground fault circuit interrupter outlets near water. Even though this is more of a risk for electrocution and electrical shock, still these things can result in fires if they are not used correctly, outlets. Another one that's often overlooked is the proper disposal of batteries. So for example, if you have a large battery like a car battery or a lantern battery, you want to make sure that that is properly taken to a recycling or disposal facility. But even a smaller battery like a 9-volt battery can cause a fire if the terminals are shorted out. Some people recommend placing electrical tape over the contacts on the battery to prevent that battery from shorting out against some other piece of metal that might also be in the trash along with the battery. House fires have actually started because something as simple as a 9-volt battery has shorted out over a period of time, has heated up, and has caused a fire. Hail damage is another common home claim. Hail damage is one of these that there's not a whole lot that you can do except to make sure that when you select building materials for the roof, that you at least take note somewhat of the impact resistance of those materials. Obviously, this is going to be indexed to the kind of place that you live and also your location in the country. So if you are at high risk for hail, you might want to consider selecting building materials, if you're in that position, of building a new home, you might want to select building materials that have high impact resistance. If you are in the position of having to repair a roof, once again, you might want to factor that in as well. Another one might be to have covers or shutters on windows if they are in a position to be exposed to the elements. If you don't have awnings, many newer homes do not, some older ones do. So just be on the lookout for these kinds of things. Some windows may have shatter resistance to them, they may be sturdier, but for older single pane windows, for example, if the hailstone hits the window, it can shatter it. Another claim is water damage. Now, water damage comes in two flavors. One is going to be water that originates from within the home. So here we're going to have things like plumbing issues. Make sure that you periodically inspect your own plumbing, perhaps have a plumber come in if you don't feel that you are competent to do that. The water heater, for instance, can store a lot of water, and if there's a leak or if the thing starts to malfunction, it can expel a lot of water into the home environment, particularly in the basement or whatever level that the water heater is located on. But be on the lookout also for leaky sinks, for leaky faucets, for bathtubs perhaps that aren't properly draining. We had a leak in our house, water damage actually, that arose from a faulty drain on a bathtub. Toilets in a similar way. Some indications of water damage are going to be stains and discoloration, either on ceiling tiles, on floor tiles, water spots, and things like this that may appear. Be on the lookout for those. Puddles can also be a giveaway. And of course, be mindful of the fact that pipes can freeze during winter, and this freezing can cause a rupture, and that can cause damage to the home as well. If you have to be outside of your home for an extended period of time during winter months, it's a good idea to make sure that your thermostat is at least set to something like 50 degrees so that it doesn't come near freezing. Additionally, there are home-safe antifreeze solutions that also can be added in. Many times these are used for recreational vehicles and motorhomes, but you can also add them in to your plumbing in your own house if, again, you run into a circumstance where maybe the power fails or you know you're going to be gone for an extended period of time during winter months. Number two, water damage can also come from outside the home. This would be from excessive rain, from flooding, from miscellaneous sources, snow melt, rivers overtopping their banks, and so on. Make sure you have adequate drainage around the home. Now bear in mind that homeowners insurance does not generally cover flooding. There is flood insurance, and if you are in a high-risk area on a floodplain or something along the lines of that, you probably want to look into ancillary extra flood insurance. Keep your downspouts and your gutters clear of debris. This has to be done periodically, depending on if you have trees and things that might drop debris into the gutters. This may have to be done several times a year. If you don't feel comfortable getting up on a ladder and checking your gutters, then hire a handyman or some other person who is an expert in this or who is competent to clear the gutters for you. Landscaping, once again, just like in some of the other areas, landscaping is going to play a role. In general, you want to make sure that the landscaping is such that the land slopes away from the structure. You want to make sure that downspouts are depositing and expelling water on the lower end of the property. I had a property that actually had a downspout, a gutter that was positioned so that it would expel the water on the higher part of the property, and the water would literally just run down the length of the property after it came out of the gutter in the downspout. And so the thing was backwards in that regard, and it did leave open the possibility that some of that water might get into the home. If the problem is acute, you might want to consider getting drain tiles or some kind of exterior drain. There are companies that specialize in this. You could do it yourself, but you want to look into that because water is a very damaging force, obviously, and can cause problems in the home, not just with respect to water damage directly, warped and eroded building materials, but it can also lead to the formation of mold and other things that can be hazardous to your health. Finally, the fifth thing that can result in numerous homeowners claims is going to be wind damage. Now, once again, like hail damage, not a lot that you can do to try to prevent wind damage, but at the same time, you can do certain things around the house to try to prevent things from flying off the home. So for example, you want to make sure that siding is properly maintained, that your deck is properly maintained, that the porch is maintained, that you take in lawn and patio furniture. If there is a forecast that's calling for high winds, you want to secure windows and doors, make sure they are properly maintained. Trim and remove trees. Many times trees have limbs that are dead, and when high winds can kick up, these dead limbs can detach themselves and fly into the property, hurt people, or damage pieces of the property as well. But when it comes down to it, if you've done everything that you can, homeowners insurance is designed so that you can get some relief. So don't hesitate to fill out a claim and to talk to your insurance provider in the event that you have to suffer a loss. Hopefully you can do everything you can to minimize those things. If you found something of use in this video, some of the tips you thought might have been of use to you, then please like the video, please subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell to be alerted to new content when it comes available, and I look forward to seeing you again in another video. Thank you so much.